Appeals Court upholds Datuk Sri Najib's 12 years jail and fine. Travellers from abroad required to undergo COVID-19 tests for 6 days upon arrival. Good afternoon. You're watching Updates at Noon with me, Renee Fong. The Court of Appeal today upheld the conviction and 12 years jail term and 210 million ringgit fine on Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak for misappropriating 42 million ringgit in SRC International Sdn Bhd funds. Justice Dato' Abdul Karim Abdul Jalil, who is leading a three-member bench comprising Justices Dato' Haz Zanah Mahat and Dato' Wazir Alam Maidin Mira, dismissed the former Prime Minister's appeal to set aside the conviction and sentence imposed by the Kuala Lumpur High Court on 28 July last year. The senior judge said it was clear that the 42 million ringgit recorded in Datuk Sri Najib's accounts originated from SRC International. He also said that the court also found no good reason to disagree with the ruling of the High Court judge. The former Premier now has his last venue to appeal against today's verdict at the Federal Court. The High Court previously sentenced Datuk Sri Najib to 10 years jail for each of 6 charges, 3 counts each of criminal breach of trust and money laundering, as well as 12 years jail and a 210 million ringgit fine, with an additional 5 years jail if the fine is not paid for the abuse of position charge. The High Court had decided that all the prison sentences would run concurrently or at the same time, which would mean a maximum imprisonment of 12 years for Datuk Sri Najib. International and local travellers for the vaccinated travel lane VTL by air and land, Langkawi International Travel Bubble LITB and One Stop Centre OSC for short-term business visitors will have to undergo COVID-19 tests for 6 days after arriving in Malaysia. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the requirement would take effect today and was in action to strengthen the Health Ministry's MOH existing precautionary and control measures to prevent the transmission and spread of the Omicron variant in the country. Elaborating further in a statement released, Khairi said travellers under these categories must undergo COVID-19 detection tests upon arrival in Malaysia, RTK-AG test or rapid antigen test on the 2nd, 4th and 6th day after arrival. He said they would also need to undergo a professional RTK-AG test on the 3rd and 5th day after arriving, while LITB travellers are required to undergo an RT-PCR test at least 48 hours earlier before leaving Langkawi Island. Khairi also said those travellers must also ensure that they are fully vaccinated and are required to undergo RT-PCR tests at least 48 hours prior to their travel dates, replacing the previous procedure, which was set 72 hours before departure. Meanwhile, he said travellers from 5 countries with reported cases of Omicron in the community, namely United Kingdom, the United States, Australia, France and Norway, will be required to get tested with an RT-PCR swab test 48 hours prior to departing to Malaysia. They too would be required to use a digital tracking device on them at all times during their mandatory quarantine period. Malaysia will continue to pursue a pragmatic, independent, principled and non-aligned foreign policy that revolves around the values of peace, justice and equality. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said regardless of the evolving regional and international architecture, the cardinal principles of Malaysia's foreign policy will remain consistent and unchanged.
The framework being a pragmatic and holistic living document will carve the path of Malaysia to emerge stronger and more resilient than before the pandemic, while at the same time allowing us to become an active and dynamic member of the international community.
Datuk Sri Ismail said that as a responsible member of the world family, Malaysia, however, will not hesitate to voice out its opinions, objections or reservations against callous and cruel acts of oppression, injustice, as well as inhumanity. On another note, the Prime Minister said it is pertinent for Malaysia to strive in a global recovery efforts and emerge as a resilient nation economically, socially and politically into international arena post-COVID-19 pandemic. He said COVID-19 has brought disastrous consequences to economies and fiscal stability worldwide, with many countries, Malaysia included, still attempting to appropriately deal with the pandemic's catastrophic aftermath. He also added that while few countries have recovered, many countries remain severely challenged by the pandemic. The Residency Wilayah Keluarga Malaysia (RWKM) initiative targets to provide 80,000 affordable housing units within 10 years, or 8,000 units a year until 2028. As such, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said he had asked the Federal Territories Ministry and its agencies to ensure that the target is achieved by means of cooperation with private developers, as it is crucial for the well-being of Keluarga Malaysia, or Malaysian family. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said in line with the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030 and Agenda 2030, the government is committed to providing affordable and comfortable housing to all segments of the Malaysian family, including those from the middle income or M40 group.
Sehingga November 2021, sebanyak 62,836 unit rumah yang melibatkan 102 projek residensi wilayah keluarga Malaysia telah mendapat kelulusan untuk pembinaan di wilayah persekutuan. Daripada jumlah itu, sebanyak 95 buah projek terletak di Kuala Lumpur, 3 di Putrajaya dan 4 di Labuan.
The Premier also said that the RWKM initiative focuses on areas undergoing rapid development despite having to face the challenge of rising property values. He added that the initiative is aimed at realizing the aspirations of Federal Territories dwellers to own a comfortable house in a conducive environment, and most importantly at a price that is reasonable and affordable. On another note, the Premier said the strategic collaboration between the Sabah State Government and Petroleum Nasional Berhad Petronas on issues related to the oil and gas (ONG) industry in Sabah will have a more comprehensive economic spillover effect in the state. According to him, the agreement signed will also enable the state government to play a greater role in developing the ONG industry through a close partnership with Petronas. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri, in a statement released, said in addition, the collaboration will open up more business opportunities for local companies to be involved in the oil and gas services industry in Sabah. The Premier added that at the same time, Petronas will continue to play a role as a national petroleum company with full authority in regulating the development of the ONG industry as a whole, in accordance with federal laws. He said the successful collaboration truly symbolizes the federal government's commitment to work with the Sabah government to ensure inclusive development so that the benefits of national development can be enjoyed together more fairly and equitably. As the world's economies reopen, now is an opportune moment for both Malaysia and Singapore to strengthen bilateral cooperation, including exploring new areas of mutual interests. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said various travel schemes, including Vaccinated Travel Lane (VTL), that have been finalised between both countries would facilitate both governments' efforts to strengthen the economic recovery post-COVID-19, particularly in the services and tourism sectors. Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul said both countries will benefit from an increase in tourist arrivals to revitalise the tourism industry and further strengthen their socio-economic ties. Other areas with high potential for collaboration are Industry 4.0 fintech, advanced manufacturing, e-commerce, aerospace and eco-tourism. He said it is important for both Malaysia and Singapore to complement each other in order to strengthen trade and investment ties as both countries work to move up the global value chain for their mutual benefit. The minister noted that Malaysia always welcomes additional investments from Singapore, and he is confident that Malaysia's strong economic fundamentals will continue to attract investors, particularly from Singapore. He said the Ministry of Finance is ready to facilitate inbound investment by ensuring that Malaysia's tax incentives and other enablers remained attractive to investors. Singapore and Malaysia are each other's second most important trading partners. Singapore is Malaysia's largest source of foreign direct investment (FDI) and the country's largest destination of direct investment abroad (DIA). National shuttler Chan Peng Soon has rejoined Badminton Association of Malaysia (BAM) merely a day after he parted ways with former mixed doubles partner Goh Liu Ying. BAM President Tan Sri Muhammad Norza Zakaria in a statement yesterday said after thorough deliberation they reached the decision to absorb the accomplished 33-year-old shuttler with the objective of strengthening the mixed doubles department and implementing a mentoring role for the youthful national squad. Muhammad Norza said Peng Soon, who had previously left BAM in 2018, will report for national duty on 1st January next year. As such, Muhammad Norza said BAM hopes that Peng Soon will be able to share the wealth of his experiences with the young players, and they have no doubt that his qualities will complement the many young talents in Academy Badminton Malaysia in Bukit Kiara. Meanwhile, Peng Soon said he still has unfinished business and will keep on playing badminton after this. The Penangite admitted he felt awkward not to be playing alongside Liu Ying after they have been together through ups and downs for the last 13 years. He said the decision came after their disappointing outing in Tokyo 2020, in which they suffered an early exit in the group stage, citing tiredness issue as the main reason to disband their partnership. The 31st SEA Games in Hanoi, Vietnam will be held from 12 to 23rd May next year. The Olympic Council of Malaysia, OCM, in a statement says the date of the biennial games was confirmed during the Southeast Asian Games Federation SEAGAF meeting held virtually yesterday. It said a total of 40 sports and 526 events would be in competition in the Games. OCM was represented by 3 delegates led by its President Tan Sri Muhammad Norza Zakaria, Vice President Datuk Mumtaz Jaafar and Secretary General Datuk Muhammad Nazifuddin Muhammad Najib, while Datuk Sier Kok Chee was also present at the meeting in his capacity as an honorary member of SEAGAF. OCM stated that the meeting had decided the 32nd SEA Games in Cambodia will be held from 5th to 17th May 2023, with 42 games proposed from the Cambodia SEA Games Organising Committee, CAMSOC, for consideration. It added that the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand will be held in Bangkok in 2025, but the dates, sports and events of the Games will be confirmed later. The statement also said that the next SEA-GIF Council meeting to discuss the organization of the 32nd SEA Games in Cambodia will be held in February 2022, while the next SEA-GIF Council meeting to discuss the organization of the 31st SEA Games in Vietnam will be held on 11th May 2022. Last July, the SEA-GIF confirmed that the 31st SEA Games that were scheduled to be held on 21st November to 2nd December would be moved to next year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Malaysia can finally have a huge sigh of relief now that the ASEAN Football Federation AFF have agreed to let the Harimau Malaya replace their goalkeeper for the ongoing 2020 AFF Cup competition in Singapore. Football Association of Malaysia FAM Secretary General Muhammad Saifuddin Abu Bakar confirmed that their request had been approved by the AFF following a discussion with representatives of other AFF teams recently. Muhammad Saifuddin said the FAM would leave it to Harimau Malaya head coach Tan Cheng Ho to decide on a replacement player to be called up. He, however, said the replacement process might take some time as it would have to go through several procedures stipulated by the Singapore government. FAM had previously confirmed that two Harimau Malaya players, namely goalkeeper Muhammad Khairul Zahan Muhammad Khalid and winger Muhammad Faisal Abdul Halim, tested positive for COVID-19 in the Republic. They were confirmed to be COVID-19 positive after undergoing a polymerase chain reaction PCR screening at the Changi airport on Friday. Both players showed no symptoms and were ordered to undergo a 10-day quarantine in accordance with Singapore Health Ministry protocols, along with daily COVID-19 tests. Based on the competition rules, no additions are allowed after the closing date for player registration except for replacement involving the goalkeeping position. And that concludes today's edition of Updates at Noon. In our top story, Appeals Court upholds Datuk Sri Najib's 12 years jail and fine. News at 10 comes on this evening on My Freeview's Berita RTM News channel. And you can also watch it online on RTM's Click website and mobile app. I'm Munay Fong. Thank you for watching and have a pleasant